Thank you, Helen. Today we're here with our client, Ben Woolford from REVL Training. Hi, Ben.
Hi, Abbie. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the journey across to Melbourne today. So we're going to get straight into it, Ben. We're going to talk about, to start off with, your journey in the fitness industry. So how and when did it start?
Yeah, it's a bit of a throwback here. It started when I was about 18 years old, so 2008. So what are we getting up? So like 17, 18 years now, which feels like a long time ago, and got into it mainly out of passion from playing sports growing up as a kid and getting pushed along from family and friends to pretty much focus on that as a career. Couldn't sit still, and it's just the best place for me. I did attempt to go down the path of doing PE teaching, but that wasn't enough. So did PT in 2008 and started out in big box gyms, so 24/7 group fitness, 24/7 gyms at Fitness First, and then from there sort of just built my way through the industry all the way through other big commercial gyms, boot camp style things, and then went into the CrossFit space. And that's pretty much where my love for this style of training, what REVL is today, was born, and that was probably 2012 maybe, so still early on. And then from there, grew into being a business owner at 26, so what was that, 2016, underneath the franchise model. So I was a franchisee first, which I absolutely loved. I'm probably not the right franchisee now being in what we do today, but learned so much on being a franchisee side before launching in the franchisor. And yeah, after that we launched into our own brand in 2018, created a concept that we really believed in from a training model, and learnt very, very quickly what it was like to support franchisees. And very different side of the fence to live and sit on, but it's been an incredible journey.
Was there anything you didn't expect when you made that jump from franchisee to franchisor?
I think the reality of having people buy into your product and offering, I think you sort of don't take you take it for granted at the start, and now we're at sort of the 40 locations. Like, people are putting a lot into opening their own site. So whether it's equity of their property or family capital, I think at the start you don't quite realise the effect that whether this sinks or swims essentially can have on someone.
Definitely.
So franchising in Australia comes with a lot of opportunities and misconceptions. What's one thing that you've noticed, obviously sitting in the franchisee seat and then going across to a franchisor, that you've realised now being franchisor that a lot of franchisees obviously do have that misconception about a system or a brand or the support from a franchisor?
There's a fair bit in that. I think that a lot of franchisees in the early stage, when you're trying to grow a brand, they don't quite understand that a franchisor needs to be able to create revenue in order to be able to support their franchisee. So a lot of them, you need to be able to build a strong, robust system, but you also need to be able to bring in the revenue to support that. So whatever model it's out there, whether it's percentage of gross revenue or a fixed fee, whatever it may be, it needs to be able to facilitate the franchisor to support you. So that's one of those sort of give and take scenarios that I assume happen quite a bit in the franchise space. And I also think the other challenge is just that the overarching relationship between franchisee, franchisor, like sitting on both sides of the fence. I don't think franchisees quite understand the impact that can create by and essentially being a negative influence over other people in the network, whether it's 1, 2 or 3 franchisees. They sort of can keep things in an isolation, can make a big difference. And then again, on the franchisor side, if you make one slight little hiccup or mistake, it can spread like wildfire. So you need to be quite careful with what you do, but you also need to understand the impact that you can create either way of how that relationship can sit.
Definitely. I think we've seen, the effects that one franchisee can have on an entire network. When you're recruiting franchisees, what is something that you specifically look for to maybe think, this is more likely to succeed even just in a personal relationship with the franchisee, or maybe something that as soon as you see it, it's a big red flag?
Yeah, we do a partner profiling tool called Zoracle, which is basically a personality profile test, and that spits out a lot of information, but the main one that we look at first is the cultural fit. They can have all the skills, but if they don't have the ability to apply it or work well with other people, it really makes a big difference. We call it a another version of a beer test essentially, or a coffee test in today. But if they don't have that personality and that trait to be able to work as part of a network or as a group, as a team, that's probably the biggest thing that we look at. All the other soft skills can be taught, so like sales, marketing, team, working with your team on how to set up meetings, like that type of thing. But I think that if they don't fit the mold, you see that pretty early on, and it's not necessarily in the sales process or when they get to open. It's 2, 3, 4 years down the track when they're disgruntled and it just doesn't work for both parties, so you need to make sure it stacks up at the start.
Yeah, definitely.
So overcoming industry challenges. So obviously the fitness industry is highly competitive. What would you, or how do you continuously make REVL attractive to potential franchisees to come on board and opening? Your expansion is growing. You're international now. So how are you keeping REVL so competitive in that market?
I think that going into it, we never tried to build an international or global fitness franchise. We were very product focused, and we still are. Like, probably, to be honest, we spend too much time talking about sets and reps and the real intricacies of fitness. So we're so in tune with the industry that we can make nimble changes if we need to. I think it's been a product first approach, and we've built the business model up and around that, which has been 5.5 years now of development to basically make it a lot more robust system that franchisees can get the support that they require. But the industry is super competitive, but if you lose sight of the members that walk in there every day, of what experience they want to get and what's happening else in the industry, like there's so much happening in the tech space from a wearables side of thing, and if you're just so blinded by it, you can't keep up, and someone's going to go next door. It is a very competitive market, but we find that people come for the workout, but they stay for the community inside of our studios, and that's not a testament to us, that's a testament to the franchisees and the coaches inside the network. And if we can, again, create that strong culture by bringing on the right partners, it just means there's a lot more longevity.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that community feel is absolutely one that you can see. There's a REVL that's close to where I live, and it's constantly filled with people, and I can see them out running during their workouts, and it's just that community vibe is so important.
Yeah. And just to touch on that studio, that's our oldest studio, so the one in SA. So essentially they're about 7 years old now, and some of the members there, like, Unley is one of the busiest streets in terms of fitness and offerings. I reckon there would be almost every brand from a Pilates perspective all the way through to group fitness, big box gym, but that community there has been so strong and one of the top performers for a long period of time, and they may not have the newest facilities, but they've got the best experience, so I think it makes a big difference across any brand.
Yeah, absolutely.
You touched on this briefly, but like the use of tech in, especially now, the fitness industry is just huge, whether that's the whole class is being run by someone on a screen, or there's more wearable gadgets and things you can do in your exercises. But is there anything you guys are currently doing at the moment to kind of integrate tech a little bit more, or anything you're looking at integrating in the future? Yeah,
well, it's a rabbit hole that you can go down. It just depends where we sit. Like, we try and make a group class as personable as possible, so wearing personalised tech is something we're always looking at. We find that through some of our applications that we use, that we can actually really personalise, so someone can walk in and hit their exact percentage they need for the day, which that's like one component of it. But we find that we're utilising tech in a way that we're bringing communities together. So like, we've got a global reach at the moment, and we've got people doing the same workout every day, so we're finding ways in which we can get those guys to gel across region, whether that's through daily leaderboards, or if it's through creating global online events. There's so many things that we're trying to do from a tech perspective that aren't necessarily like fully deep dive in that, but we're still trying to create a robust system that can scale but also provides service offering or experience to the member. It's Josh, business partner, he lives in that space a lot. He's got every device and every gadget and understands how it all works, and he's constantly seeing where we can improve or I suppose elevate the experience of the members and or franchisees as well.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to this question because you did just touch on your global, which is a good segue into the REVL Global Games.
Yep.
That's coming up. Did you want to unpack that a little bit and tell us a bit more about the concept, where it came from, and how it's going to work?
Yeah, so that's been a pipe dream that we've had for 5 years, basically. The way in which the REVL team games is it's basically our members train on their own. Well, they train in a class, but they always test on their own, whether they're testing 1 rep max or a certain workout. And we wanted to be able to create an environment that our community could actually train as a team and test as a team, rather than always feeling like in isolation. So I would say probably 2001, 2002, we created our internal REVL team games. So each studio did it at their own locations, and we ran that twice a year. So whether it was teams of 2, 3 or 4, they got to participate inside of their own location to see who was the fittest in their studio. And we found that was a massive success in small isolation and cohort. We also created the coaches games, which is like really sticky for our coaching community. Like our product's a coach's product that they love training it. They don't necessarily train in other ways. So the team of 3 or 4, whatever's in the studio, are actually participating against the other studios coaches. So it's a very it's all about pride and that across the network, and it's great to see. So it's been about 5 years of development to get it where it is today. And last year Singapore ran a Singapore Games where they just brought everyone into the one place. They've got 12 studios in Singapore now, and there's about 600 of the community just watching the coaches' games. That's just watching, let alone participating. And then the next day we ran the everyone together, and I think we had somewhere around 600-700 participants in that. And we saw the success of that being outside of the studio and made a bit more that the whole community came together. We decided this year to run our global team games, so brought everyone across the world together from REVL to Adelaide, which is obviously where I suppose early beginnings became. And we've already got close to sort of 400 people signed up to this event, and it's not necessarily just for REVL members, it's also for the wider fitness community, the fitness racing events out there. There's so many happening. We want to create our own, and it's going to be cool to see guys from Korea, Singapore, Adelaide, Queensland, all basically in the same heat together, in the same fitness level, participating and competing against each other. And we're also got some really cool sponsors on board for the event, which I think is important for what we do. Like, it's basically just bring anyone and everyone that's sort of been a part of our journey to date together, whether that's suppliers, vendors, and sponsors. So it's going to be a massive event the first weekend in November.
Wow, I'm really looking forward to seeing, to the showgrounds in Adelaide, so I can just imagine that it's going to be huge.
Yeah, have you guys got a team yet?
Oh, there was talk of it.
Together.
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm all for it.
Yeah. It seems that you have, even though the REVL brand has expanded internationally, you still seem to have a really big focus on keeping everyone really well connected. So whether that's through the members, through your staff, or your franchisees, what is some of the ways as you continue to expand that you are kind of maintaining the REVL brand and like the ethos of the REVL brand? Yeah,
it's a challenge every day, because the further we scale, we've got over 250 coaches in the network now. When we started, we had 4. So those same 4 coaches are still predominantly involved in the brand. And as that gets out, everything does shift and change. But what we've found is that the training product is the training product, and people have bought so much into that. We do a lot of things like similar to team games. We've got Saturdays we do team sweats, and that there, it's a pretty big eye-opener how quickly people connect with people. It's like our game day. It's basically our sporting club mentality. So we found that that's created a lot of stickiness across the entire brand to do so. And from a staff and all of that, like yesterday we had a coaches accreditation running in Sydney. I think we had maybe 9 or so people just doing the sweat, and they love it, and you walk away from that on that high, and we're going to do that forever. I think that's something we're always going to maintain, no matter how big we get. But I think it always comes back to the training and the reason why we're here, and we go back to the grassroots, and everyone loves it.
So I'm just going to segue now into compliance with your franchise network. How, obviously now that you've expanded internationally, how's REVL making sure that compliance across each location is, being adhered to in terms of brand standards, approved suppliers, approved products, all of those things?
Yeah, it's a good question. we've been lucky that we've had really good partners from the start, especially in our international markets with the guys in Singapore. But again, once you do expand and scale, your eyes aren't everywhere to be able to see what's going on. So we've got global supply agreements, global platforms that we utilise and use. So everything's set up in order to fall underneath the system. But there's always going to be a time when someone's purchasing locally or whatever it may be. We're really trying to stamp that out to make sure there is brand consistency, because there's two real big pillars that we lean on, is the product and the brand, and anything outside of that's basically to support the wider business. And if those two components aren't being upheld, whether it's the coaching delivering the class or the uniform they're wearing, they're two important parts for us. So we're basically going through a big process now that we've scaled to the 42 locations, but essentially now we're going back through and making sure everyone's up to those standards. And it's not I suppose a police cop mentality to do so. It's how do we best support them in order to them to have the right, I suppose, pieces of equipment ready available, whether it's having the uniform so it makes it nice and seamless for them, because that's typically when it falls down. If you can't provide the supplier or make it simple for franchisees, it definitely makes it hard for them to follow the system.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really crucial. I love that piece how you speak about the policing. You know, I think for a long time in franchising, the compliance aspect of it has been that, you know, they're coming to police us, they're telling us how to run the business, but it's all coming down to that brand consistency and making sure that, you know, the brand and the IP is protected because they are following the system.
Yeah.
So
you need to set them up with the tools. I think that's something that we've, over 5 years, like if you asked us 4 years ago, it would have been like, why are you doing that? Whereas now it's like, well, how can we best support them to not have that issue in the future? And whether it's a where am I going to go here with that? Like if it's our intranet, so they don't have the manual in order to be able to onboard a new staff member, and that staff member is not coaching in the way we want to. That's on us. We haven't set them up for success there. Same with potentially if we're doing equipment updates. If we don't have enough lead time in order for them to procure it from a cash flow perspective, again, that's on us. So you kind of have to take the good with the bad there. Otherwise, you're going to leave them exposed where they potentially just go and do it because they have to run their business. It's essentially their livelihood to do so. And if you're preventing them from doing that, you're not doing it in their best interest.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I think in general with most franchise systems, but especially in the fitness space, you need to move, evolve, change and adapt. Obviously, sometimes those changes come with maybe further expenditure for the franchisees or a change in systems in ways that have been done for ages. Do you have any tips for franchisors when they are rolling out some of those changes and maybe they get a bit of pushback from franchisees?
Yeah, you've got to get in front of it early. Like if you know a change is coming, you need to start those discussions. We've got area managers in place, whether it's in Singapore or regional based here in Australia, and we get them on the ground having those discussions before it's an announcement. So at least you're actually having those conversations. Whether we get 100% right all the time, that's a different part. But change management's a big thing that we're learning as we're growing, because we've got franchisees that have been in the system 5 years and love the way it was, and as soon as you make a change in their system, like, well, why does it need to change? But as you guys said, it's a very competitive industry, so you need to constantly stay relevant, whether it's a tech booking platform, equipment supplier, or a change in operational module. Like you need to continually do it. So I think it's more, again, it's back to the education of your franchisees. Like running an annual conference, we're basically giving them 12-month lead time of ideally what's going to happen, and things change very quickly. But it's your relationship you have with the franchisees, and if you just sort of make actions at a head office level and don't consider what the effects are at franchisee level, these guys live and breathe it and they do it every single day. So one little speed bump will make a big difference to their business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I absolutely love the whole concept that you've just spoken about, because I think there's a lot of systems out there that don't consider the franchisees to that degree, and I think that's just a real testament to what REVL is and how the growth and expansion for REVL over the short period of time has allowed it to get to that, because you at the forefront of your mind, it's the franchisee's success, because ultimately that's your success. And I think that just speaks volumes for REVL.
We've been very lucky that when we first launched REVL in 2020, we had an advisor, John Sully, happy to talk about him, and he was ex-Michelle's Patisserie, and he is one of the Don's in fitness, or in franchising, not so much fitness, he would love me saying that. But he told us it's your franchisees that matter the most. And you go in there and you look at the model and the revenue and how the whole thing can flow. And he goes, if they aren't performing, they're going to be unhappy and you're going to have to over-support them all the time. So we've always had that in the back of our mind when we're doing it. Not that we weren't going to do that. He's just instilled that from the start, and it made a really big difference to how we operate and think about our franchisees.
I can imagine having that that guidance, especially at the beginning, from someone who has worked in franchising, because it's its own beast. It's a very different way of running a business as opposed to your standard, small business brick and mortar. So I can imagine just having someone who knows the lay of the land just would have been a breath of fresh air in a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, if the unit economics don't stack up, don't do it. It's one of the first things we looked at, whether it's a great opportunity to open this region or territory, but if they're not going to make money and you just know it's not going to work, do not do it. I know there's a lot of code changes and updates around that, but like that was 5 years ago, probably before this came into fruition. It needs to stack up for them, and the other part is you need to be able to provide them, again, the tools in order to do that, whether that's the support structure or the system. Otherwise, it's just not going to be a successful concept, and you're always going to be putting out fires.
Yeah, absolutely. Being franchisee, you made a comment of you weren't the best now that you've moved across to a franchisor. So giving someone who has that entrepreneurial spirit, can we just reflect on why you don't feel like you were the best fit for a franchisee, and how moving forward, if there's someone that's looking to go into that space, why that's potentially not going to work for them?
We've just spoke about compliance for about the last 10 minutes, and I would say, and it was not a lack of respect of the system, it's just because I thought I had a better way, and to be honest, I didn't have that well a performing business, but I had a really cool way in which I had my clients training in a different concept. It made absolutely no sense when you think about it. So like if someone's going into any franchise, you're buying a system and a service offering that actually works. That's why they've got it to the scale that it is. So you need to consider, if you want to go and create, and the Macca's movie is probably the best thing. If you want to go to a corner at Macca's, like it's one of those things, like you need to go and follow the system and buy into the system that they're creating. Otherwise, it just won't work from both sides. So that was my learning pretty quickly, is that I had ideas for things, but at the end of the day, if I just followed the system and did what was sort of in front of me, I probably had a better business, less about the product. So if you're product focused and you've got entrepreneurial, I suppose, ways in which you want to do things, do not go into a franchise concept, because you're only going to make it hard for yourself and the franchisor. But on the other side of that too, like being a franchisee in a robust system, it's a great place to live, because you can actually do the things that you want to, whether it's sales, marketing, coach, flip burgers, whatever it may be. You can actually go and do it when you don't have to worry about all the other stuff that goes in behind it. So yeah, there's so many different ways to do it. But, and then again, if you're aspiring to be a franchisor, you need to realise it's not a sell a unit and that's it. You're with them for a long period of time. You need to support them. They need to make a return on investment. Otherwise, the whole system doesn't work.
So if someone, I can imagine there would be people potentially listening, or others that come up to you and say, look, I'm looking to franchise. Is there anything you would recommend they start at, whether it's exploring whether the franchise model works for them or not, anywhere you'd kind of point them that worked for you?
Yeah, I would definitely make them consider whether it's a corporate model or a franchise model, whatever their business and system is. And I don't have the answer for that, but like if you're looking to scale to 10 locations or 200 or 1,000, whatever it may be, and then as soon as you get that answer, it's a pretty simple understanding. The franchise model works on unit numbers. It works on having profitable franchisees and being able to lean in and support them. So you need to look at the elements of scale of that, because when you get to certain tiers, you need high touch point. You need to go back and end of term, they're going to start renewing. Like the whole thing constantly evolves. Where if you go on a corporate model, you have, that's all your, it's your lease, it's your staff. You've got a lot more control over what's happening. So yeah, I think that it makes a big difference that of which size they want to get their business. And sometimes you can do both, like, and you may not know day one, but just because one person's inquired to franchise one location, I wouldn't be jumping at it personally.
Yeah, I think it's easy to look at that almost instant dopamine hit that someone's come, hey, money's in the bank, let's go. But then you haven't planned, okay, what does the scalable model look like here? Or people don't realise that, hey, my head office costs are going to get a lot bigger with more people that I bring on as well. Yeah. So, I see it all the time. That's just, they haven't actually developed a sustainable model, but they've already signed up for franchising. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And to be honest, that was us. Like, now I've seen and been through that. Like, I'm glad we did it because we're so naive to know what was ahead of us. It wouldn't exist in the way it does. But if someone came to advice, that's the first thing I'd tell them is that maybe go through a corporate rollout, have all of your operational systems absolutely robust, and you've got a model that's proven and work, and then you can start looking to franchise, whether it's having supply chains or technology to scale. Don't do it the other way around because you're just constantly chasing your tail and making changes on behalf of franchisees.
Yeah.
I'm just going to touch on really quickly about your international expansion. So that's really exciting for you guys. Where's your, in the next 12 months, where's that expansion looking at? If you're allowed to expose it, if not, it's totally fine. It's under wraps.
It's a big world, but we're quite prevalent in Southeast Asia at the moment. So we're just about to launch in 2 weeks our first site in KL in Malaysia, which is super exciting. We've got 12 sites in Singapore, 1 in Dubai, 1 in Korea. So we're going to continually push our Asia expansion over the next 12 to 18 months. We've got some strong interest in places like Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand. So yeah, we just want to make sure they're the right partners when we go into those regions and it stacks up and how we can best support them, similar to what we've been saying. I think beyond that, we're going to continue our Australian expansion to get them to the numbers that I suppose that we can make more sense. Rather, it's a big country. Like, we've got 25 locations here in Australia and they're all spread out across Australia. You've got to get on a flight to see pretty much everyone. So we want to try and make sure that we've got some more critical mass in areas so we can best support and have brand awareness. That's domestically, and then internationally, where we've got a fair bit of interest in the US at the moment, which we're pretty pumped for. When we go in there, we're going to hit pretty hard and swing hard. We're not going to go in and sort of dip our toe in the water. Again, similar to what we're saying here, you want to make sure it does stack up. So there's a lot on. There's not a lot of hours in the day, but we've got a really good team that I feel that we can support it when the time comes.
Yeah, well, it's very exciting. Very exciting. Look forward to seeing how REVL evolves and changes in the next 18 to 24 months with that expansion. So that's very exciting.
Ben, thank you for today. All of your answers were just fantastic, and I think for anyone listening, whether franchisor or franchisee or potential franchisor, even our suppliers as well, would just be probably hanging on the edge of their seats with your insights, because you're such a well-known brand across Australia, now internationally as well, so definitely at the forefront of franchising, and can't wait to see where the brand continues to grow.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully I shared some insights and some war stories, so
I
appreciate it.
Thanks, Ben.
Awesome.